The Nations League's come in for a lot of criticism this week, hasn't it? From some big personalities in football as well. We've got Van Dijk, his manager Van Gaal, who made 11 changes to his team last night. Kevin De Bruyne. De Bruyne describing them as glorified friendlies. That is not a good look for the Nations League, but I love it. Not their comments, the Nations League. I love the Nations League. And I'll get onto the reasons why, but to summarise already, it's because I support Scotland. I think it's important. I think this determines a lot of people's opinions on the Nations League. I think it depends on who you support, and the fact is if you're a fan or a player, that is going to differ greatly. But also when it comes to the player's perspective, who do you play for, club and country? Both of those things have to be taken into consideration, because I think Van Dijk is the perfect example actually. Liverpool qualified for every single game last season, reaching the finals of the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League. They only played the Champions League final a couple of weeks ago. And after playing such a big part in the season, still surprised that Van Dijk can't really be arsed playing 4 games for the Netherlands in the space of 2 weeks at the end of it, speaking out about how it increases the risk of injury, and I make him right. Then you take into consideration Kevin De Bruyne's comments. Him and Van Dijk, they've got their own glorified friendly for their clubs at the end of July. It's only 6 weeks away. Man City take on Liverpool in the Community Shield. Now, you might have a different opinions whether it's an important game or it is a glorified friendly. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't really matter. The fact is, they have a game at the end of July, 6 weeks away. And I always see the Community Shield as almost like the first game of the new season, because a week later we obviously had the Premier League season, don't we? So when the Community Shield's on, never involved in it, but when the Community Shield's on, like, here we go, the new season's back. I enjoy watching it. I do see it as a glorified friendly. However, it's usually played like that, isn't it? But the fact of the matter is, that is when that game is. A lot of Premier League clubs go back to training on the 27th of June, 2.5 weeks away. Now, obviously, the players involved in Nations League will be given an extended break and they won't be involved initially with pre-season. But again, that's not ideal preparation for the clubs or the players, is it? They need to be back for pre-season ASAP, but they also need a break. And I think that's the issue, it's a lack of break. Since they kicked the season off back in August, we're now in mid-June. Van Dijk, Kevin De Bruyne, they've not stopped. They've just kept on going. They kick off their season at the end of July and they keep on going right the way through with the World Cup in the middle of it. So it's not ideal, is it? I can understand why players are criticising the Nations League. But as a Scotland fan, I absolutely love it. I do. I love it. Like I said, you have to come at this from a selfish perspective. And that is, it's huge for Scotland. It's huge for countries like Scotland, like Ireland. I understand why you sort of look at the Group A, and I know not everybody's a big fan of the Nations League. There'll be some people tuning in going, okay, I might learn something about the Nations League. And I hope you do. I hope you do learn something about the Nations League in this video if you're not a big fan of it. And if you are one of those that dismiss it, hope you understand why it's important to fans like myself. Because it gives us an opportunity that we can't get elsewhere. So if you take the Group A lot, the likes of Germany and France and England, do you know something? I get why there's maybe a little bit of snobbery from them towards the Nations League, because there's not loads of rewards up for grabs. Obviously it's an international trophy, but it's very similar to sort of like the Europa Conference League to some extent at the club level. Actually, I don't even think it's comparable to that. I think it's more comparable to like the Intertoto Cup to some extent. It's like, well, it's not really a trophy. It's a trophy, but it's not really a trophy, is it? I think there's a lot of sort of snobbery towards the Nations League as a competition, and I get it. I do get it. You know, you play a few games, group stage games spread over a large period of time, and then you have a semi-final and then a final. It's not a tournament, is it? It's a trophy, but it's not a tournament. And it's never going to be held in such high regard as the Euros and the World Cup, obviously. So I get it. But it is a trophy at the end of the day, and a lot of fans, whoever wins it isn't going to be complaining. Whoever wins that trophy isn't going to say, well, it doesn't really matter. Of course it matters if you win it. But I get why in general there's some unrest from nations towards it. I do think it would give an opportunity for some of these countries like Belgium that if they didn't use the likes of De Bruyne and they used a midfielder who, like Trossard, he scored for Belgium, scored a couple of goals for Belgium last night. Perfect player to use in that. He's played for Brighton, so he's had a good campaign domestically, but he's not involved in European football or that, so an extra few games at the end of the season, not the end of the world for him, gives him a chance to stake a claim in Belgium's starting 11 for the World Cup as well. But for Scotland, back to Scotland, so we're in Group B, we're in the league below, so if we win our nations group, which contains Ireland, Armenia and Ukraine, should we win our group with these four, we get promoted into Group A. Now, obviously, a lot of people go, well, you'll get your arse handed to you on the plate in Group A, won't you? Possibly, but I'll tell you what, while we're in Group B, and we won Group C in the previous Nations League, we are up against countries of our standard, of our stature. We aren't rocking up to the qualifiers and getting smacked and then playing meaningless friendlies against countries that, well, either look down as us as being the lesser opponents. So we play Germany, they won't play their first team. Why would they? It's Scotland. But then if we play someone lesser than Scotland, we don't put our first team. Why would we? It's a friendly. So the Nations League does have a competitive edge. I will argue with anyone. All the Scotland games I've seen in the Nations League, it is competitive. We take it serious, and 90% of the countries we come up against take it serious as well. And in terms of coefficient ranking and that, it's very similar ability levels. We got promoted into Group B. It's a tough group now. Saying that, we made light work of Armenia last night. We'll have a good game against Ireland on Saturday, and then we'll play Armenia again. But then we've got a double header against Ukraine coming up. That'll be a test. But if we win our group and get promoted, that's happy days, well done. But it's the result is winning the group. But what we get, the reward, is we are seeded for the Euro 2024 draw, which is massive. It would be massive, because in the Euro 24 qualifiers, 2 teams from each group get into the Euro 24 finals, and there's 2 seeded countries per group. So should we win our group that we're in with Ireland and Ukraine and Armenia, we get seeded. That means we will only have one other country from the likes of France and Germany and Portugal. We will avoid another one of those teams. So when it comes to the qualifiers, instead of having, say, Italy, England and then Scotland and so on, we'd only have Italy, Scotland and so on. It should, in theory, increase our chances of being able to qualify for Euro 2024. Then if that goes wrong, if we do not qualify from our group stage, if we get knocked out in the group stage, we don't qualify for Euro 2024 through the traditional means, it means at the end of it, we've got our Nations League playoffs, which gives us an opportunity of qualifying for Euro 2024 again. It's almost like a get out of jail card in your back pocket, an ace up your sleeve if you like, which is huge and could be crucial. It's how we ended up qualifying for the Euros last year, by going through the Nations League and then beating Serbia on penalties. That's why we were at the Euros last year. It is huge for countries like Scotland. It gives you the Nations League gives you, first of all, allows you to get seeded. Of course, you've got to be in Group B in order to get into Group A and then get seeded. But that's why it remains competitive. It has promotion and relegation through the groups. Adds a little bit of excitement. And if you get relegated, obviously not ideal, but you then end up in a group with similar ability countries. So when you do go play competitive football, you're up against games that actually mean something, that the games that are there for something to play for. And then when you go all the way down to the bottom groups of the Nations League, it allows those countries that are usually getting beat 6-0 and 5-0, the likes of Malta and the Faroe Islands, it allows them to have games where actually they've got a chance, they can win. And while you might think, well, what's the point of that? Because of the fans. We always say that football is nothing without fans. Well, can you imagine being a fan of the Faroe Islands and you win one game? Even if it doesn't matter who it's against, right? Can you imagine being a fan of the Faroe Islands and you beat Malta in a game? It would be the best feeling in the world. You're used to conceding 5 in a game and then you finally win one. You've got a chance of promotion. Going up a stage gives you a chance of qualifying for the Euros via the playoffs. Now, it's extremely unlikely, of course, but it's hope. And that's what the Nations League is. It's crucial because you compare it to anything. It's like you look at the Champions League group stages or whatever, it's all seeded. So when the 4th team comes out, a team that's made it into the Champions League group stages from Bulgaria come out, and they're in a group with Bayern Munich, Lyon and Galatasaray, you think, well, what chance have they got? You know, it's all almost rigged so that the top teams go through to the knockouts of the Champions League because of the seeded way that the draw's done. And I agree with that. But that is the beauty of this, and we have to take advantage of that, Scotland. And I think the Nations League is huge for us because there is no seeding when it comes to, we're in Group B with all the other teams in Group B. We get drawn in our group. We know that if we win that, we are seeded for the draw for 2024. We're not seeded because of coefficients or anything like that. We're seeded because we've had to work for it, and it will be a massive benefit to us because I know everybody mocks us and stuff. We were at the World Cup in '98 when I was a tiny boy at primary school. I don't remember it. I've got one memory, and that is John Collins scoring against Brazil, and that's it. That's my only memory of the World Cup. Obviously, the Euros last year, I thought we played well, but that's it. No prizes for playing well, is it? But I tell you what, in the last few years, our biggest results have come either in or via a form of the Nations League. And in a weird way, we didn't change it for the world. I think it's hugely important because it gives us hope, gives us a little bit of belief. And yeah, so anyway, a bit of a ranty video. I do apologise, but I just wanted to defend the Nations League. And like I said, I can understand where players like De Bruyne and Van Dijk are coming from. But overall, I think it's huge for football. And it's huge for football fans, actually, because going to watch your country play in a friendly has only got so much appeal, hasn't it? But these games that you go to, they are competitive. The players do care. The players do. I watched England v Germany, 2 teams in Group A the other night. You can't tell me those teams didn't want to win that game. Both teams wanted to win that game as far as I'm concerned. It meant a lot to both sets of fans as well because it's competitive. The Nations League, it's good. The Nations League is a good thing. I think it's getting a lot of criticism at the minute because of its scheduling rather than what competition it is. I think the scheduling is down to the World Cup being in November. Had that World Cup not been there and the Nations League was later on in the year, I think it would have probably gone down a little bit better. But I hope it's here to stay. Well, it is here to stay, but I hope it continues for a long time because it's 10 times better than meaningless friendlies because the Nations League does actually mean something. Anyway, if you've enjoyed my ramblings, do drop a like on it. I hope you've learned something about this video, perhaps about the way that the seedings works from going from Group B to Group A. And fingers crossed that Scotland can get a win against Ireland on Saturday in Armenia next week and put ourselves in good stead for winning the group. Subscribe if you're new to the Tartan channel, please, and I shall be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Catch you in a bit.